Chapter 20. The U.S. prison population was 1.5 million prisoners at year-end 2017, and the population of jail inmates in the U.S. was 745,000 mid-2017. There were 1.3 million prisoners under state jurisdiction and 180,000 under federal jurisdiction. From the end of 2016 to the end of 2017, the number of prisoners under federal jurisdiction dropped by 6,100, down 3%, while the number of prisoners under state jurisdiction fell by 21,600, down 1%. By citizenship status, non-citizens made up roughly the same portion of the U.S. prison population, 7.61%. As of the total U.S. population, 7.0% per the U.S. Census Bureau. These numbers are based on prisoners held in the custody of publicly or privately operated state or federal prisons. The imprisonment rate for sentenced black males was more than twice the rate for sentenced Hispanic males and almost 6 times that for sentenced white males. 12,336 per 100,000 black males compared to 1,054 per 100,000 Hispanic males, and 347 per 100,000 white males. At the end of fiscal year 2017, nearly half of all federal prisoners were serving a sentence for drug trafficking. While the numbers are falling, many federal prisons are still overcrowded. With overcrowding comes agitation. With agitation, violence. Most of the violence is relegated to U.S. penitentiaries, maximum security prisons like USP Big Sandy, which house mostly high-security offenders. USP Florence, located in Colorado, saw a massive riot between white and black prisoners on April 20th, 2008. Some white supremacist convicts were celebrating the birthday of Adolf Hitler with prison-made moonshine out on the recreation yard. At some point, the white outlaws began yelling racial epithets at black prisoners. The white supremacists armed themselves with rocks, prison shanks, and other improvised weapons. A battle between both races ensued. It involved over 200 prisoners and lasted more than 30 minutes. In an attempt to stop the riot, guards fired more than 200 M16 rounds, 300 pepper balls, 10 tear gas canisters, and sting grenades. When the dust settled, 2 prisoners, Philip Lee Hooker and Brian Scott Kubiak, lay dead from gunshot wounds. Over 30 prisoners and 1 staff member were also injured in the free-for-all. Maximum security federal prisons reek with violence. Soon after the riot, Sarah Devley, the warden at Florence, received an Excellence in Prison Management Award. One of the biggest problems I see being part of this federal prison system is that there is no accountability. No one cares if prisoners are killed or assaulted. August 10, 2008, shortly after the riot, another prisoner took a life at the Florence prison. The violence at Florence also extends to the visiting room. A prisoner took a homemade weapon to the visiting room with him. He cut his wife's neck, then turned his anger toward his mother-in-law. Both left the prison visiting room with superficial wounds while the warden enjoyed her award. 2008 seemed to be a rocking year for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. On June 28, 2008, prison guard Jose Rivera was stabbed at least 28 times with an 8-inch ice pick-like weapon. 2 prisoners already serving life sentences were charged with his murder. After a 3-month lockdown where prisoners were confined to their cells eating bologna sandwiches twice a day, they were finally let out of their cells. With all the pent-up anger, frustration, and hostility, it did not take long for more violence to erupt. Over a dozen prisoners were stabbed, and the prison was plagued by numerous fights. The prison was placed on lockdown again. In 2017, there were 57 prisoner-on-staff assaults at USP Atwater. These included physical attacks with fists, food trays, and spitting or throwing urine on guards. More than half of those assaults took place in the special housing unit. Not long after Rivera's murder, stab-proof vests were issued to staff. Prisoners like me must find ways to protect our vital organs on our own. USP Pollock in Louisiana is another prison rife with violence. In April 2007, Tyrone Johnson and Derek Sparks were both murdered, stabbed with prison shanks. Not only was Pollock the leader in prisoner-on-prisoner murders in 2007, but nothing good ever happens there. A few months after the Johnson and Sparks murders, 2 more prisoners were stabbed in the stomach. With Thanksgiving right around the corner in November 2007, 2 more prisoners left this cold world with toe tags on: William Bullock and Donald Till, murdered by other prisoners. Peter Avalos Gutierrez went to meet his maker in January 2008 at the age of 55 after being stabbed to death with a menacing shank. In Texas, Gabriel N. Roan was stabbed to death at USP Beaumont, also known as Bloody Beaumont. During the battle, a guard received 13 puncture wounds. There is a guard shortage problem in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Wherever the maximum security prisons are, there is also death. The great state of West Virginia is not exempt from prisoner-on-prisoner murders. In April 2018, 48-year-old Ian Thorne was killed during a physical altercation at USP Hazleton. Demario Porter, like Thorne, was killed the same way 5 months later. This has been going on for years. In February 2015, another prisoner met his fate at the prison when he was stabbed in the stomach. In 2016, prosecutors brought charges against a prisoner after he wrapped his hands around another prisoner's throat and strangled him to death. USP Hazleton, a place known for death and destruction, saw its most famous murder when former Irish mob boss James Whitey Bulger was viciously beat to death by at least 2 younger prisoners at the age of 89. Bulger had only been at the prison for a matter of hours. He was transferred from another prison in Florida after misconduct with staff allegations. Whitey Bulger was a high-publicity con, known as a snitch. Despite all of this, Whitey was sent to a prison known for murder. The minute he was designated to USP Hazleton, his death warrant was signed. Because Federal Bureau of Prison staff lack accountability, staff allow prisoners to be led off to gallows of another sort: knives, shanks, steel pipes, fists, and feet, all tools used to send victims to the afterlife. Every day is just another day in the federal prison system. USP Big Sandy, what have you for me? Chapter 21. Oh, stop! What the fuck are you doing? The screaming reverberates through the vents as I brush my teeth. The wailing is coming from below. It travels through the ductwork. I am holding the toothbrush in my hand and staring into the mirror. I am intently focused, my attention to the screaming. Anger, depression, fear, anxiety, all run through my veins. My life is this. Sometimes I wonder if this is a life at all or a life worth living. Hearing keys locking doors breaks my train of thought. I continue to brush my teeth. Once again, the officer is yelling the all-familiar, "Lock down." Sneakers squeak across the floor as prisoners scramble, gathering items owed and borrowed, magazines, food, and ice. Everyone seems to want ice when there is a lockdown. Lockdowns seem to be the norm now. Lockdowns are a sanctuary as long as they don't last weeks. Being locked in is a refuge from the day-to-day violence, the only real escape from the pain. This lockdown only lasted a few hours. Dinky and his misfits were at it again. They decided to hit another white prisoner from the south. He was in the unit below me. According to Dinky, the man had been writing to a prosecutor attempting to cooperate on an unsolved murder. Dinky unveiled this sin, claiming he was able to read the imprint on the cover of his victim's writing pad. Simply an excuse made up in his mind. The real reason for his strike was the man had a store, plenty of postage stamps, food, pornography, and books. Dinky wanted all the fruits of his mark's labor. Obtaining these fruits could be achieved through violence. Another sad day for someone on Magic Mountain. The smell of deep-fried food radiates through the unit, making my stomach growl. Someone is making fried food. Like Scooby looking for a Scooby snack, I want to find out who is cooking. Is it for sale? Determined to discover the source, I follow my nose. As luck would have it, 2 Serenios who I get along with are deep-frying the stuffed flour tortillas they call chimichangas. I order 4 with a cold soda. For a split second, I am reminded of the days when I was a small boy enjoying fried food at a carnival. The chimichangas are filled with cheese, chicken, peppers, and onions, all items stolen from the kitchen. I pay for the food with a book of stamps, thanking them as I leave. Everyone has a hustle in here. Like Red, the Serenios made a stinger out of wires and stainless steel. They took a hard plastic garbage can, cut it down with dental floss, and turned it into a deep fryer. People deep fry raw chicken purchased from whoever can steal meat from the kitchen. Convicts who work as butchers have everything for sale: beef, pork, hamburgers, chicken patties, and fish. Regular kitchen workers sell vegetables, fruits, raw rice, pasta, pre-made sandwiches, oatmeal, and desserts. The 3 things that people care about in here are food, drugs, and alcohol. The men that are hustling are doing so mostly for one of the 3. Those selling drugs in here at the higher level are doing so not only to live well behind these walls, but also to pay for lawyers. They call these acts penitentiary chances. Penitentiary chances are chances people take selling drugs inside that could result in new criminal charges or death. In here, when you're the man with drugs and money, you become a target of those thirsty for what you have. You have what the vultures want. Overzealous guards, the few who aren't scared, also target the drug dealers. With the drugs comes mountains of problems. The problems are worth the risk when you're chasing freedom. 2 doors down from me, another guy sells what people refer to as spitterets or chew-ports. Tobacco products are no longer sold in the commissary in federal prison. Many of the guards chew tobacco. They carry empty soda bottles that they spit in, along with the chew that has been in their mouths. When those bottles go into the trash, a few select prisoners with access to the garbage snag the bottles. Like an episode from a scientific show, they set up a lab in their cells. First, they pour the discarded saliva from the chew. Then they place the plastic covers over a hot bowl of water, where they put the spit and chew, allowing it to dry. Once it is dry, they have what they call black gold, a big pile of chew that they turn into small spitterets. Each one sells for a book of stamps. One discarded bottle can fetch anywhere from 6 to 30 books of stamps. The thought that anyone would smoke anything that came from someone else's mouth makes me want to vomit. Everything is for sale. Food, drugs, alcohol, legal advice, pornography, even sex. We're hanging out in Red's cell, Red, Frank, and me. The music plays loudly as we laugh and joke among ourselves. Frank has been here for over a month, slowly acclimating to his new living arrangements. Dennis, Adam, Steve, and some of the other fellas came over to meet Frank on his second day. He never made it to breakfast that morning, so they showed up in the unit. After that morning, Frank never missed another breakfast. "Chad, do you think you're ever going to get out of here?" Frank asked me. "This rat hole?" I respond. "No, man. I mean out of prison in general," Frank says, a look of despair on his face. Rubbing my thumb on my chin, I stall for a moment before I answer, praying and hoping because I can't take much more of this shit. Whenever I think about my case or the situation I'm in, my throat gets dry. I continue. "Listen, Frank, I got a phenomenal lawyer from New York handling my appeal. She's Jewish, and Jews are good lawyers. Chick lawyers are always smarter than men, plus women care about people more, you know? She works at a law clinic in New York, too, so that's a good thing. Do you think they respect female lawyers?" Frank asks. "Jewish chicks named Jillian, they do," I say with a laugh, trying to end the conversation about my case. "You ever see what she looks like?" "Why? You trying to date my lawyer, jerk off?" "Come on, man, I'm just asking, kid." "Nah, I ain't never seen her, but she has that New York City accent like Rosie Perez from White Men Can't Jump." Red and Frank laugh. Red says, "That movie sucks, but I hope that Jewish chick gets you out of here, Chad." "That makes at least 2 of us, Red." "Me too," Frank chimes in. "I want you to get out of here." Red's country music blares through his homemade speaker. First thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing. And a youngin's dream of growing up. Mama tried. I turned 21 in prison doing life without parole. No one could steer me right, but Mama tried. Mama tried. Mama tried to raise me better, but her pleading, I denied. With the conversation we are having, I think Merle Haggard's Mama Tried is a hell of a tune to be playing. My mother tried too. It was my own decisions that resulted in me being 24 doing 40 years without parole. Silently, I pray my attorney can win my appeal. My sanity rests on hope in the success of that appeal. "That's the deuces, bro," Red says. We all stand up and look out the window into the recreation yard. Nothing there. We peer deeper into the yard. The yard is calm. A lake on a warm summer night. Yelling and squeaking sneakers pulls our attention from the window to our unit. When Red opens the door, the noise engulfs us. I see a white prisoner running down the range with blood dripping from his nose. Instantly, I am ready to pounce. Red senses my uncomfortableness. He grabs my shirt. "That's the white dude, Dog. He's with the blacks." I freeze as what Red says registers. He's with the blacks. The first thing I think is some black prisoners are attacking a white prisoner. If that were to happen, stalling could cost me or others our lives. In this place, you have to meet violence with violence. Dog is hemmed up by 2 armed gang members. He looks like he's being stabbed, but it does not stop him from returning fire with his fists. A heated battle ensues. Dog throws lefts and rights at a guy named Josh. I cheer inside for him, willing him to win. He moves to the left with the wall covering his back and throws an overhand right. With the agility of a professional fighter, he moves to the right, throws a jab, and follows it up with a hard right. A left uppercut next. Josh crashes to the floor, a heap of clothes. A knife tumbles from his hand, clanking, skittering across the concrete floor. Dog is ready to pounce on Josh. His knockout punch appears to have escalated his fury. Josh's partner disappears momentarily. He reappears with a broom. The first swing misses. Dog weaves away from the strike. The second swing comes fast, and it hits Dog in the head. As he stumbles back, he shakes his head trying to get his bearings back. Dog's too late. A third swing to the body. The fourth, a crushing blow to his head, sends Dog to his knees. His eyes lock onto mine, pleading for me to help him. I cannot help him. He made his choice a long time ago. Josh is back on his feet, knife in his hand. The shank strikes Dog in the neck. Blood spills like a broken faucet. His adrenaline enables him to make it to his feet. With one hand on his neck, he sprints toward the guard's office. His pursuers give chase. As is custom, the deuces have brought staff flooding into the unit. Dog is able to run through the unlocked door into the arms of those able to save him. Josh and his partner are ordered on the wall. After a quick pat frisk, they are handcuffed and led out of the unit to the special housing unit. Before the yelling begins, I make my way to my cell. Mr. Young is already there. Before long, I hear the hard steel locked door clank behind me. This time, I don't feel the regular relief. A piece of me is burning hard. I feel as if a part of me is transforming, taking me to a place where I could hurt Josh and his friend with no remorse. Fire should be met with fire, anger with anger, violence with violence, ruthlessness with ruthlessness. Big Sandy can turn a good heart black. I look out the window in my cell door. I see blood everywhere. There is more than I would have thought. Other prisoners are ignoring the call for a lockdown. Instead, they are going to the showers and filling garbage bags with ice to keep any perishables cold for as long as they can. Others stop off at the storeman's cell. Our storeman is a black man from D.C. named Bo. Bo sells commissary items from his cell. Everything from cold sodas to chips, cheese, cookies, and meats. The markup is about 35 cents on every dollar. As I stare out the window at the commotion, I think about Dog. I spoke to him on many occasions. He often talked about his son and his daughter, and how he was looking forward to getting out of here so he could spend time being a dad. Dog was a likable guy in his 30s, serving 7 years for weapons possession. Originally from New Jersey, he relocated to Tennessee. Now he might have lost his life here in Kentucky. While my heart is beginning to darken, there is still a part with kindness. My kindness allows me to hope that Dog makes it, that his life, his hope to be a father, does not end here. If Dog dies, I know this lockdown will not be short. Watching the attack on Dog made me want to intervene, but there was no way I could. Dog is Irish like me, from New Jersey, but he made a mistake when his feet hit the soil here. He made a choice to ride with the blacks. Once he did that, he was dead to the white prisoners. He was now considered black. Whites don't get involved in black business, and blacks don't get involved in white business. Dog came to Big Sandy prior to Adam and Steve's arrival. Had he come here after those two showed up, he would have been in our car. In our car, the likelihood of two white gang members stabbing him would have been low. Had they done so, we would have come together and massacred both Josh and his partner. After watching Dog's incident with no blacks intervening, I am unsure if they knew he was part of their car. Most people assume that Dog rode with the blacks. Dog probably liked it that way. Two black prisoners in our unit usually sit at the same table with Dog in the mess hall. One of them is from New Jersey, the other is from Brooklyn, New York. Neither man came to his aid. Like everyone else, they were simply spectators, not participants. I feel a disdain for both prisoners for not intervening, or at least making sure that Dog had a fair shake. Maybe they knew this was going to happen before it took place and were ordered by the shot caller not to get involved. The prison is locked down, again. Looking out my cell window, I see two other prisoners dressed in white suits that resemble astronaut uniforms. These are the only two convicts out and about in the prison. They are here to clean up the blood. Both are designated to clean up blood and other bodily fluids. There is no shortage of work here at Big Sandy for the men in the moon suits. According to prison standards, this is one of the best jobs to have, in large part because it pays well. The assignment pays a little over $100 a month. I would never think twice about a job like that. Disease runs rampant among prisoners behind these dark walls. HIV and hepatitis are at the top of the list. That alone makes the blood duty undesirable to me. The $100 lures others in, though. We're on our 4th day of the lockdown when Mr. Young appears to have a nervous breakdown. It started this morning, shortly after guards shoved paper bag breakfast into our cell. He was angry that the bags had 1 apple, 2 pieces of bread, and a pack of powdered milk. How's a man supposed to survive on that? He could not understand. When 2 raggedy bags come in for lunch with more of the same, Mr. Young punches the door. The sound of his fist hitting the hard metal pulls me from the James Patterson book I am reading. Mr. Young's left arm rests at the top of the door. Staring at the back of his head, I hear him weeping. Big Sandy has broken this old man. A Vietnam veteran who saw combat has been shattered by the violence, loneliness, and desperation that engulfs this small area of the bluegrass state. He stands at the door crying, rambling about his age and how this whole system is wrong. Both of our brown bags are on the floor. I can do nothing but lend an ear, listen to his sorrow. My heart hurts to see Mr. Young brought to tears. From Vietnam to federal prison, this is what his life has become. I'm 63 years old, Chad. I should be watching my grandkids grow up, Mr. Young says between sniffles. With understanding in my voice, I respond, You're going to be all right, Mr. Young. Just hang in there, buddy. You'll be home before you know it. Chad, there just ain't no real men in this prison. Men make their own decisions, life decisions. You understand me, Chad? He says through clenched teeth, tears running down his cheeks. I can't walk out of this cell if I wanted to and call my family. I can't get myself anything to eat when I'm hungry. Do you understand that, young man? I nod in agreement, listening as he speaks. I understand, Mr. Young. This is a sad life, but we're going to be okay. I say this with some reservations. I want to make him feel better about our current circumstances. His words ring true in my ears. This is a very sad reality that I don't want to accept. We can't even get something to eat if we are hungry, which we are with the brown bags 3 times a day. The guards are yelling that it's shower time, prompting Mr. Young to speak again. Oh, so nice. It's been 4 days, and now they want to march us in cuffs to the shower? Showers might do him justice, calm his nerves, I hope. I like Mr. Young. I feel bad for him. There is a respect that I have for him like what a grandson might have for his own grandfather. Mr. Young has been in prison for 7 years on a 15-year sentence for armed bank robbery. He swears up and down that he is not guilty. I believe him. Most people don't claim to be innocent. They complain about the draconian sentences that they received. Federal mandatory minimums have destroyed many lives by sending nonviolent offenders to places like this where they are forced to do what they have to do to survive behind this razor wire. Sometimes they are forced to become violent. Without violence, they too will be devoured. Shower time has finally arrived. The simple event brings much relief. Being able to walk out of our cell to stretch your legs brings with it a small amount of joy. Our unit manager, Miss Chase, is at our door with her secretary, Miss Hack, to cuff us up for showers. I put my back to the door, squat down, and send my hands through the slot to be cuffed. As Miss Hack cuffs me, her soft hands brush my fingers. Her perfume is light, but I can still smell it through the door. A normal person can never fathom how good it feels just to have a woman grab my hands while cuffing my wrist. The saying, "There truly is nothing like a woman's touch," resonates in that small moment. Her Kentucky accent is soothing. Her politeness is delightful in such a contaminated place. This is the first time I have come in direct contact with a woman in many years. Hands cuffed behind me, I grab my towel and soap off the desk. The door opens, and Miss Hack escorts me to the shower. The hot water streams down my face, caressing my cheeks like a waterfall. Hot water, Mr. Young's breakdown, and the touch of a woman break me down. The smell of cold soap floods my locked concrete shower. My thoughts go to February 4th, 2003, the life I once had. Snow, pristine, glistening in the light of the moon. I stop at the corner and look to the left. As I turn my head to the right, he's there running towards my truck, gun pointing straight at me. A car is in front of me. I cut the wheel to the left, but I can go nowhere. Another man with a mask and a chrome pistol. He is almost at the driver's side. In my panic, I assume I am being robbed. I take a moment to pray they do not kidnap me for ransom. I am trapped. They got me. And then I see the blue lights as more men jump out of police cars. The 9mm is pressed to my temple. I see the shiny piece of metal of a Rochester police badge in my peripheral vision. Orders are barked at me as I am ripped from the driver's seat and thrown to the hard, cold pavement. Snowflakes float down from the dark sky. I know it's all over. Booper's long gone. We parted ways when he turned 15. I found out he started smoking cocaine base. That was the excuse I used. Like Biggie said, blow up like the World Trade Center. Everything was blowing up as I lay in the cold, wet snow. The cuffs tighten on my wrist. I wish I were being robbed or kidnapped for a ransom. Anything else would be better than this reality. My stomach quivers as if I had just been hit with a left hook to the abdomen by Mike Tyson. I lay there sick and frightened. The cop tells me if I move, he'll shoot me in the head. I decide to stay motionless in the snow. As I rub the coast into the skin on my face, I begin my own silent weeping. This one thought brings back that whole experience once again. That same left hook to the stomach area hits me again, just as hard. The only thing that has changed is the date. Everything hurts all over again. The pain is still excruciating. Sometimes I think of her, not as much as before, but the fear, frustration, and faithlessness of Big Sandy makes her dance in my mind. At 24, I lost her. A beautiful wife, 2 little girls, Tiara and Joy, dancing to Michael Jackson's Thriller, watching Lilo and Stitch, The Lion King, Dora the Explorer, counting to 10 in Spanish. Vivid memories. Jen was her name. Dinner at our favorite restaurant, Pasta Villa. Good conversations, laughs, good times. Life as I knew it, forever gone. Your life as you know it may very well be over. I think that's what the judge said. It's all a blur now. The salty tears run down my face. I punch the shower wall, hard, over and over. My eyes burn like hot coals as the emotions run over me. Nothing left but shattered memories and dreams. No one to blame for the losses but myself, my irrational and irresponsible decisions. Let's go, man. You have 2 minutes. Other people need to shower. A male guard's voice rings out. Defiantly, another prisoner yells, "Fuck you." "Yeah, all right," the guard sneers back. This exchange brings me back to Big Sandy. I try to calm myself. I rinse my face carefully. I'm not going to let anyone see me in this state, this moment of weakness. Not even Mr. Young, surely not Miss Hack. Chapter 22. Mr. Young is in better spirits. Must have been the hot shower. I climb into my bunk and pick up the book I was reading. Concentrating on the words that fill the page is difficult. Miss Hack clouds my mind. Mr. Young is staring at me. "What the hell you thinking on up there, boy?" he asks, his southern drawl emphasized and molasses slow. "Oh, nothing, Mr. Young," I say with a smile forming on my face. "Nothing my ass," he argues. "What is it?" I chuckle at Mr. Young's use of profanity. He seldom throws cuss words out of his mouth. I was just thinking about home and a little bit about Miss Hack." Mr. Young laughs. I feel a little embarrassed admitting I was thinking about the prison secretary. "Boy, she sure is purty, ain't she?" he asks. "What the hell is purty? Do you mean pretty?" "Oh, hell, you know what I mean." "Well, Mr. Young, she is an attractive woman, and her whole demeanor makes her even cuter." "What are you going to do, Chad, if you ever get out of here?" Mr. Young asks, raising an eyebrow. I look down at him from the top bunk. "I have to get out of here first, Mr. Young." "Yeah, well, we all have to get out of here, but if and when you do, what are your plans?" "I have all kinds of plans, Mr. Young. A lot of dreams, but at the end of the day, I just want to be normal. Have a good job, good woman in my life. I'd like to have a son someday, coach his football team, take him fishing. All the things we are supposed to do. That's the stuff that would make me happy. Simple things, Mr. Young, simple things." "Do you believe in God, Chad?" "Of course I do." "Well, you better start praying for a blessing. When the feds get you, can't no lawyer get you out of here. Only person can get you out of old Big Sandy is God. I was raised on that Bible, and there are blessings to be had if you work for them." "Oh, Mr. Young, I pray for one every day," I respond. "Did you like that old boy they were jumping on the other day? Dog Pound or whatever they called him?" "Yeah, he seemed like an all right dude," I responded. "Well, Miss Chase said the boy ain't dying now, so he's all right. It looked to me like they stabbed him good. Thought he might have died." "Yeah, it looked bad, Mr. Young." "He's going to live, so that's a good thing. Don't much like seeing people die. Chad, seen plenty of it in Vietnam. Seen some bad things there, and if I don't have that PTSD shit by now, I will when I leave here. Since I have been here, I've seen some god-awful things, boy. For the life of me, can't understand why these boys in here want to kill each other. They're lost, Mr. Young. Most of these people are never going home, and if they do, they know they're going to be old. Too old to do anything with their lives. So, life as they know it means nothing. They lash out at other people. I guess it's their way of dealing with their anger, pain, and hopelessness. What do you think about that, I ask? Being you put it like that, I see it. Don't mean I agree with it, though. Neither do I, but I think it's the truth. These guys have no incentive to do the right thing. Good time is a joke. And the ones who ain't never going home, what do they got to lose? There is no response when I finish speaking. The hot shower has relaxed Mr. Young. I hear him breathing hard. I look over the side of the bed to see him fast asleep. Within 2 days, the lockdown is lifted. The usual hustle and bustle of prison life is back into full swing again. Big Sandy almost left some more children fatherless. This place almost claimed Dog's life. How quickly he's been forgotten around here, but not by me. The violence in this concrete city is shocking. Mr. Young has learned what really happened with Dog. Quick to share it with me, he motions me to our cell. Dog was drinking wine with Josh and his battle buddy. Someone handed Dog 4 stamps that they owed Josh and asked Dog to put the stamps in Josh's room. In his drunken stupor, Josh accused Dog of pocketing the stamps. Dog claimed he put them in Josh's room. Words were exchanged, and before long, fists, knives, and broomsticks were flying. Dog's life hangs in the limbo over $1. The end result is Dog wound up in the hospital. Josh and his partner went to the special housing unit. They won't be in there more than a few weeks. They will be back on the compound to wreak more havoc on this place. The prognosis on consequences for violence around here is bleak. The person who will suffer most is dog. Once released from the hospital, dog will also be housed in the special housing unit for much longer than the two others. Dog will be in a solitary cell for 4 or 5 months, waiting to be transferred to a new prison. For his own safety, dog cannot come back out to population here. Stabbing people here is the norm, with little to no consequences for such violence. That makes stabbing practically legal behind the razor wire. In the real world, I imagine morality would prevent a person from lashing out and stabbing another person over $1. There is no morality here. Moral turpitude permeates even the lowest levels. It's a new set of rules when the door slams behind you and the foam smiley face shoes come off. Dog's new home is not special by any measure. I see nothing special about being locked in a cell for 23 to 24 hours a day. 5 days a week, prisoners are allowed to go outside where they are locked in a dog kennel a little bigger than the cells they are living in. It's nonstop action in Big Sandy's shoe, keeps the guards busy. The usual action consists of hunger strikes, cellmates fist-fighting, stabbing matches sometimes, and staff assaults. Even in the shoe, prisoners figure out ways to make vulgar prison shanks. There is more. One of the most despicable assaults that happens in the shoe is called shitting 'em down. Shitting 'em down is usually reserved for staff. Prisoners will urinate in a container, mix that with feces, and store it for days. When a guard opens the food slot, the prisoners will fling this concoction at their target. This is usually done when a prisoner feels he has been disrespected by a guard. But some men have mental health problems and will shit them down for no other reason than a good laugh. Many of the cops that work in the shoe go out of their way to make things harder on their wards than they already are. Most staff members have a natural dislike or hatred toward the men imprisoned here. Guards like to make life miserable for prisoners. They fail to realize that imposing punishment is not part of their job description. Punishment comes from the court. Guards shouldn't be handing out punishment. Guards throw prisoners' mail, court-approved legal documents, personal photos, and other property in the trash. Guards withhold meals. Guards intentionally skipping a person waiting for his court-mandated 1 hour of fresh air is the norm. These small violations cause prisoners to lash out. Other times, guards provoke prisoners into physical altercations, thus justifying 5 or 6 cops beating a man into oblivion. The shoe also has what are called 4-point cells. Inside the cell, there is a bed fastened in the middle of the floor with latches in 4 different places. A prisoner is laid on the bed with his left hand handcuffed to the left side of the bed. The right hand finds the same fate. The left ankle is then cuffed to the bottom left side of the bed, the same for the right. When the Federal Bureau of Prisons 4-points a man, they strip him of all dignity. Most times they leave the person naked in that position for hours. Some men cry, others scream for hours, while some hardened men lay there quietly, accept their fate, all the while contemplating their silent revenge. This is our American system of justice breaking even the toughest of men. 1 hour of outside recreation 5 days a week is important to a person in the shoe. It is the only form of relief for a person left in extreme conditions. Denying a person this opportunity for no legitimate reason other than being nasty guarantees anger. With anger comes the desire for revenge. Men always want to cause pain to the person seen as the oppressor. Chances to seek retribution are far and few between, so when opportunity does knock, an open food flap on the door, for instance, shitting them down is the usual retaliation. Cops in the shoe are a renegade breed. They come off as fearless. Some of their bravery comes from the fact that they know the men in the shoe are locked behind steel doors, and when they leave the steel enclosures, their hands are cuffed behind their backs. Most prisoners in the shoe are celled with another prisoner. As most things go around here, whites are housed with whites, blacks with blacks, Hispanics with Hispanics. Going into a shoe cell can be dangerous if you don't already have a relationship with the convict in the cell. Some prisoners want to be left alone. Others have mental health issues, and some are violent just because. If there is already a prisoner in the cell where the guards are placing someone new, guards will open the food flap and handcuff him before opening the cell door. The new prisoner will be put into the cell, and then the door closes on both men. A person walks into the cell without any clue about what kind of weapon the other guy might have. Someone must have the handcuffs undone first. One guy's hands are free, while the other guy is still handcuffed behind his back, defenseless. If the convict in the cell dislikes the new occupant or simply does not know the guy, sometimes he assaults him. Guards will not open a shoe cell door until they hit the deuces and other staff respond. Many prisoners have found themselves on the receiving end of a vicious attack, sometimes stabbed while handcuffed behind their backs. The shoe is a lonely place. Each cell has a toilet, a sink, 2 metal bunk beds, and a shower. Some cells have a desk with a chair. Everything is bolted to the floor to prevent them from being moved or used as weapons. Nothing stops the innovative prisoner from cutting knives out of the steel, sharpening the metal on the concrete floor, and turning the object into a killing machine. This is Dog's new home after being the victim of an assault over 4 stamps, $1. I doubt Dog stole 4 stamps from anyone, let alone a gang member. The attack was motivated by some other reason. It was likely Dog's East Coast roots in conjunction with his choice to associate with the blacks. Most of the white gang members at Big Sandy are from the West Coast. A natural vein of enmity between white West Coast convicts and East Coast convicts runs deep in the federal system. Josh and his people must have asked around about Dog's status and gotten confirmation that he was a loner and not in the black car. If they were told he was with the blacks, the assault would not have occurred. There are many unwritten rules behind these dark walls. One is that people do not assault people in other cars or other races. If Dog was with the blacks, then he's black, although his skin is white. Walking the compound, putting on a facade that you're with a car you're not actually with, trying to be a loner, makes you fair game. I suspect this is what Dog was really doing. It made him vulnerable, and the prison machine ate him up and spit him out. Once Josh and his cohorts found out Dog's real status, they set out to eat him alive. The 4 stamps and the accompanying theft allegations were nothing more than an excuse to lash out against a white prisoner who associates with blacks. There are plenty of made-up reasons to savagely hurt people. USP Big Sandy is riddled with them. When the consequences are no more than 2 weeks in the shoe for the instigators, men here don't think twice about gruesomely hurting someone else. The violence behind the razor wire is already wearing me down. Each violent act I observe seems to destroy a small piece of me. The senseless violence here will never cease. It only festers in this environment, fed by sinister convicts trying to escape their own dreams, trying to escape the demons that landed men behind these walls for grotesque amounts of time, some forever. The free world has written all of us off as animals, barbaric, savages, and deserving of whatever happens to us behind these cold, gloomy gray walls. We are all human beings, or are we? Have we transformed into savage beasts in a lawless land of misfits? I look into the mirror. A small tear falls from my right eye. I know that Big Sandy is slowly hardening my heart as well.